Hello, folks, and welcome to another edition of The Real Estate Tea with Nikki and NYC, and I am she. I am sipping on some hot chai and ready to deliver some hot tea about sales and rentals in Manhattan and Brooklyn for February 2024. Let's go check it out. All right, let's get things started by taking a look at the sales market for Manhattan during the month of February. As you can see by all of the green that appears on the screen, things are looking relatively up. Contracts signed were up modestly every year, but actually saw a pretty healthy jump month over month. Price per square foot was also up pretty modestly. Where things were kind of a little bit meh was going to be in active listings. As you can see, even though they were up month over month, they were still down year over year. So buyers didn't really see like a huge jump in terms of their selection between January and February. Now let's move on to Brooklyn. Brooklyn also, again, you can see a lot of green on the screen, but again, there's kind of like some pros and cons going over here because as you can see from contracts signed were actually flat year over year, which is really actually not that bad considering that interest rates, the level that interest rates are currently at, and contract signs were up a very healthy 27% compared to the previous month. Price per square foot actually saw some bigger gains compared to Manhattan on a monthly basis and was pretty modest year over year. Listings is where there's a big letdown. As you can see, quite a bit below where we were last year this time, and only a slight uptick compared to the prior month. So buyers are probably really feeling like there's not a whole lot out there, and they are not incorrect in feeling that way. Let's switch over to rentals, starting with Manhattan. Signed leases actually went down both month over month and year over year, as you can see, but median rent kept on going up, which was a bit of a surprise for many of us, especially considering that February is typically a slow month for rentals, which was reflected in the number of leases signed, but not necessarily prices. We think a lot of this has to do with the types of apartments that are being rented, so more rentals in doorman buildings, which is bringing that amount up. In terms of active listings, again, much better than it was last year this time, but month over month, rentals are probably not feeling like things are going so great. Now, in terms of these average rents here, you can see for studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. Please do not be mad at me. This is not my fault. I didn't do this. This is just what the numbers say. Again, keep in mind, though, that these averages include everything. So it's going to include the top floor in the pre-war walk-up, and it's also going to include the, new development with all of the amenities and all the bells and whistles and everything else, right? So if you see these, don't panic too much. Again, this is just giving us a sense of overall market trends, all right? But as you can see, everything is up, all categories. All right, hopping over to Brooklyn, same thing with leases signed. They went down month over month and year over year, but that median rent is up again. Now, the good news for renters is that it was flat compared to the previous month, but the bad news is that it's up quite a bit compared to last year this time, so not so great. Now, the good news is that Brooklyn renters finally saw some degree of relief when it came to listings. They were up not just year over year, but also month over month. So for those who have been maybe looking for a little bit, you probably felt like you had a few more options out there. But again, we're still, it's still a pretty tight market out there. And again, with average rents, don't get too mad at me about these numbers. You'll notice that once again, studios are in the 3,000s along with 1 bedrooms. And that's likely because many of the studio rentals actually occur in doorman buildings, and doorman buildings do tend to be expensive. But once again, all of those numbers are up year over year. All right, so what are our takeaways for the data from February 2024? So for sales, I would say a little bit more of the same, but for rentals, to expect the unexpected. So March is the start of the spring sales season, and that is typically busy, but high interest rates are going to continue to keep a lid on activity. So we're not going to see the typical huge bump in listings that we would normally see this time of year. And so as a result, I think that there's not necessarily going to be a lot of new buyers flooding into the market. I think that we can expect to see an increase in sales for the months of March and April and probably the early part of May, but it's probably not going to be these huge increases year over year in particular, and probably be low compared to past years, especially years like 2021 and 2022. Now, when it comes to rentals, though, the rental market is just kind of really chugging along a lot more strongly than one would anticipate for this time of year, which is potentially not super great for renters. I'm really, really sorry to say that. We'll see what we see. Maybe the unexpected competition will cause some people to pull back, and maybe the rental market will cool off a bit for the month of March. We'll see what we see. But when it comes to, rentals, I would say kind of don't necessarily think that you have that much of an advantage because of the time of year, because it is behaving a bit oddly compared to what we would expect. So there's that. So that's what I have for you. That's the tea for this month. I will see you next month with a piping new pot of real estate tea. Maybe not a pot, more like a cup. But anyway, you get my point. Bye.